Hi, my name is Sonja, and I am one of the members of the Komen Ambassador Board.
Hi, I'm Lisa. I'm also a member, or I'm on the board of the Komen board. And I'm also a member of the Pink Phoenix Dragon Boat team, which is an all breast cancer dragon boat team. So, yeah, wearing this shirt. Um, my first experience with breast cancer actually started a little about 25 years ago. My sister was diagnosed at the age of 43. And so she went through, all the treatment. It was a very aggressive form of breast cancer. And it'll be 22 years since she passed. So, she fought a good fight, thought it was great, and we were, cured. And then it came back with a vengeance. And metastatic breast cancer is not anything to have to deal with. It's just not a good disease. Anyway, and so my history started then. Then my mother was diagnosed early stage, and she was a survivor until she passed at 92. And I've had two other sisters that were diagnosed with breast cancer, and then I was diagnosed with breast cancer 5 years ago. So, I tell people this all the time. I'm so sick of breast cancer. So I'm going to have to be very vocal and keep fighting and fundraising and, do whatever we can, because this disease is deadly and it needs to stop. So that's my history and my passion. I'll just keep doing it until I can't do it anymore.
Wow, that's an amazing story, and to have so many in your family that have been touched by this horrible disease is really sad. So, I mean, thank you so much for doing everything that you've been doing for the community. I personally, my journey with breast cancer started back in 2011 when I was 31 years old. I was diagnosed with stage 2 ER positive, HER2 negative breast cancer. I had the surgeries. I did not do chemotherapy. I think there's a misconception that people think that if you get cancer, you automatically do chemo. That was not the right treatment plan for me. I did a type of hormone therapy instead, based on the type of cancer I had and some other determining factors, and lots of discussions. And I was great. After that, I didn't have cancer for 7 years. And then in 2018, so 2 years ago, actually, last month, I was 38 years old and I was experiencing some pain in my chest. And I thought I was like having a heart attack, because I can be a little bit of a hypochondriac sometimes. And I thought I was going to be that person. But it turned out actually that my cancer returned. And at this time, it has metastasized to my bones. So I am currently living with metastatic breast cancer. So part of my journey with having metastatic breast cancer has been getting involved with other people who are going through the same journey, or who have just been diagnosed, offering peer support, and also getting involved with organizations like Komen. I am new to the Komen community. I was introduced to Komen through somebody who I actually work with through another organization, specifically the Providence Cancer Center, which is the hospital that I get where my care is. And that person actually reached out to me and offered to introduce me to the people at Komen because of some of the activities that I do for Providence. And I was introduced to a wonderful group of people and asked to join the ambassador board. And that's when I really saw the work that Komen does. Because I think before, everybody's aware of Komen, for my whole life, basically. It's all been about Race for the Cure and this big national organization. And for me personally, and I find this to be true with a lot of like the younger generation that's starting to come up and get involved with their own causes, there's a big focus on local impact. And I wasn't actually aware that our Oregon chapter, the local impact that it had, until I started doing my research and until I was introduced to these wonderful people who took the time to take me through the programs. And I found that this was a cause that I could really get behind. And it was like, oh, more people need to know about this. And that's kind of how my fundraising journey began, is more of an educational process.
So my deciding to fundraise for Komen here locally, I was kind of hesitant because same thing, the big organization, national Komen. And I met with a gal that used to be the president of the Komen board for many years, been involved in the Komen community for over 20 years. And a friend of mine introduced me to her when I was just newly diagnosed and was going through treatment. And I told her exactly my concerns about Komen and supporting Komen. And so we talked in depth, and she shared a lot of information. And then she introduced me to Ann Berryman and some local people that run the Komen chapter. And then I did my own research and found out how much they contribute and keep here locally, and what an asset and an impact they are to the community. And I find that that's the biggest message I have to talk to people about more than anything. I will tell you, in this fundraising, even with our own Dragon Boat team, trying to get everybody to sign up, I felt like it was pulling teeth. And then I put out a Facebook post with the link, and I said, listen, here are the facts. I too was hesitant about Komen 5 years ago. Here's why I'm not anymore. This is what they're doing for folks going through cancer today in our local community. So I started giving them all the facts. And right after that, a bunch of people signed up. And I was like, because there was a lot of old misconceptions out there about Komen, and the local chapter is different than the big national. They're all connected, but we've got some great leaders in our community. I think the local Komen reps that run this nonprofit do a phenomenal job. So I'm going to support them. As long as they keep doing a great job, I'll keep supporting them.
Mm-hmm. And I think that it's interesting that you and I have similar stories about that when we really embrace the education of what the program's all about, and the actual programs that we fund here, and the dollars that stay in Oregon, and what that means to the people who access those resources, it's pretty incredible. And just being able to talk about that in depth,
yes,
I think really helps people. We don't have, and listen, I love the Humane Society. I think it's one of the most amazing organizations, but we don't have cute puppies and kittens to, show in people's faces. And
right.
although, that's something we should think about. But once you put that human face to, your cause, and really understand that, hey, without these funds, there are literally patients that have to choose between buying gas to go to treatment and eating that day. And once you realize the impact that has in somebody's, cancer journey, and literally life and death decisions, it's pretty incredible and very powerful.
Absolutely. Yep. I've had people come to me now and say, where can I get help? There's a gal at work that was just diagnosed. She's a single mom, blah, 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 blah. And it's so nice to be able to say, okay, here's a resource, contact this, go this route, let them know what's going on. And so being able to give them something tangible, not just, we should check out this site or that site, because I think that one of the biggest things that I discovered just going through cancer myself was I had to be my own advocate. I had to bust through everything. And I had a couple times where the medical professional were like, well, you probably understand this better than me because you're in the medical community. I'm like, I am? And they're like, aren't you a doctor? I'm like, no, I'm just informed. I get all my facts. I want to know what I'm dealing with. And so I find that a lot of people don't know where to go, don't know what to do. And so we have to bust through some of the lack of information that's out there. And I think the more of us that can do that, the stronger we can provide support to the community of breast cancer. We can't stop talking about it and being supportive to folks that are going through it.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty incredible that for what I feel like is a very visible type of cancer, right? Breast cancer has been on the pink ribbon's been part of the culture for so long, and really one of the first ribbons, if you remember when that whole thing started. So since, breast cancer is such a well-known disease, but when you are in the throes of going through the treatment and seeing your doctors and getting the information, a lot can slip through the cracks. And I remember that the first time I went through breast cancer, I had great doctors. I was living in New York. I had these amazing, amazing doctors. I could not have been happier with my care. But like, I had no idea that an oncology social worker was a thing. Like, I had no idea that there were resources like nurse navigators that could like help connect all of your providers. Because oftentimes, like, your surgeon doesn't have my chart. And I'm a really big my chart advocate, by the way, just FYI. And it bugs me when I don't have a doctor on my chart. But like, a lot of times, like, your provider won't use the same system as another provider. And then you're trying to get all of your medical records because you have to go see another specialist. And it's like a job managing your plan of care. And not everybody has the facilities that provide that roadmap for them. So I had a very similar experience with that. And it is nice to be able to have this community of people who have been through the process, who have probably been on the medication or the chemo that you're going to take, and can tell you, like, all right, here's what the pamphlet doesn't tell you. Prepare for X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, I do some mentoring, and I'm on a hotline with Living Beyond Breast Cancer, and it's exactly just that. People they've had so much information thrown out at them, and they don't know how to deal with it. They don't understand a lot of it, and being able to talk to somebody that's gone through breast cancer that maybe hasn't had exactly the same treatment, but can say, I know 3 women that have, or 5 women. We can get you more information. But I also find that breast cancer is, it's still like this quiet conversation. I've spoken at a couple of different local small groups about breast cancer. And when I've gone in and I've spoken to them, the first thing I ask people is a show of hands of how many people have had breast cancer in the room. And you'd be amazed at how many hands go up, and all of a sudden conversations go around, because the majority of people in this room are friends, and most of them don't know the other one had breast cancer. I'm like, why are we not talking more about this? Yeah, it's crazy. And it's been around, for so long, and we're still doing a lot of the same treatment. So it just really needs more and more conversation and more funding if we're ever going to get to a cure and get beyond, it being a deadly disease. Anyway, sorry, my passion will come out. We have to keep talking about this and doing things to generate more support so we can find a way to cure this disease. But when I do my fundraising, because I know I want to talk a little bit about that, that's part of where I find I'm able to get folks to be contributing, is because if you can share the stories and share some of the facts about what's going out there, and what our local chapter does, people start to give money, and they're not aware that, like, it's an education process when we're fundraising. That's kind of how I view it. Like, I'm educating people so that they feel compelled to contribute. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I feel the process is.
I will say that what I have found with fundraising, and actually just asking people for money in general. So I personally have a retail background. I was a retail manager for a very long time. And you'd be surprised at how money is an uncomfortable subject for a lot of people. And that's understandable. And then you add the layer of the COVID pandemic on top of it. And people have lost their jobs, and it gets a little dicey. What I found success with, me personally, is it never hurts to ask. The worst thing that can happen is someone can say no. And at the end of the day, that's not that big of a deal. Like, okay, that's cool. Like we're not going to stop being friends. I'm not going to unfollow you on Instagram or anything like that. And I actually use social media quite a bit for my fundraising. I don't really do Facebook, but I do have Instagram, and that was able to reach a lot of people at the same time. And I was strategic about when I was posting and where I was posting. I put a link to my donation page in the bio of my Instagram, so that people could easily access it. I also signed up for the text message donation and advertised that as well. And then the thing that actually also was super successful for me is I recruited, so my friends and family that donated, I then recruited them and said, hey, do you mind sending out a quick email with the link to my donation page to a few people, like some friends and family that of yours. My sister posted the link to my page on her Facebook, and I got some donations that way. My dad sent out an email to some family friends, and I got some donations that way. So it was more about, I included other people in my fundraising, and just asked almost like a referral system, like, hey, do you know 5 people that you can send a quick little email to? And if people donate, great. If they don't, no pressure. It's okay.
So the things that I do to do fundraising, so some of the same. I do have a Facebook page, and I originally post there, but that's not the most successful way that I've gotten donations. But the instant messenger is really a hot button for me, and so I will send instant messages with a blurb about why this is so important. I put the link on there, and so I will get a bunch from that. And then, but email is probably my best tool that I've used. So I tap into my business contacts. I will send them all a personal email. The one thing that I found is I won't just do once. I do twice. I do 3 times. And if after the third time they haven't donated, okay, I don't send a 4th one. I find that people get busy. I've had a couple people that say, yep, I'm going to do it. Like, I'm waiting on 3 right now. So I've actually did you want to give me your bank account number? Like, I know I'm well enough. No, we're going to get there. And I'm like, well, I'm getting my butt kicked right now by Sonja. So I use you.
Oh, no.
But it's like we're all rallying for each other. I just hope we all can raise a ton of money. But then I did use social media the last week or the week before last. And I put a challenge out there. I think it was last week, because Janine mentioned us on the radio as us beating her team. So I said, well, that's not fair. So we did a social media, and I sent it out, and I said, I want all my friends to share this, and then ask your friends to share it, and just keep sharing it. Like, let's see if we can cause the biggest chain mail that there possibly is. And so some of them got on board with it. And then we just, for our team, we just had a meeting on Monday night, a fundraising meeting, and we had 10 more women sign up. And so people are fundraising again. We just did some brainstorming. COVID made it a little bit tougher. There's no doubt about that. But we talked about, you could do game night. I've played virtual bingo where you Venmo people money for the game, and then that's the donation, and just get creative with it. Have a, happy hour with, I don't know, Bunko or whatever. So we told them, get creative, use games. And then the texting we just started doing. So I want to see how that works. I'm going to be sending that out to a few folks tomorrow to see if I can get some texting donations coming in as quickly as possible. I think the biggest thing is just don't be afraid to ask. You got to be fearless. And I've heard a lot of people say, well, I'm not allowed to email my business contacts. I said, really? Like they tell you that? And well, I think so. I said, I'm a person that says do and then ask for forgiveness later. Like, oh, my bad. I didn't know I couldn't do that. Don't be afraid. Grab some names, send out a couple emails. This is an important, very, very important nonprofit that helps the people in our community. So, and I think that has helped some folks. A lot of people will say, well, I'm not good at fundraising. Neither am I. It's not what I do for a living. But I also know that, like you said, worst case scenario, they tell you no. It's not personal. Everybody does what they can. So I'm okay with asking.
Absolutely. And also, taking into account maybe some industries that are a little bit untapped. So for example, my family, we work in construction, and so that's been actually where a lot of the donations, like the larger donations that I've received, have come from. They're technically family friends, but they're also business contacts. So it's like other people that also own their own, like, part of like a drywall company. We've had a couple of our general contractors, like, because we've just been in the business for so long that these are more than business partners. They are friends, and we contribute to their causes every year, and they're returning the favor this year. And but construction isn't exactly, because it is such a male dominated industry, it's usually not the first place that people think of. Oh,
Right.
I should reach out to construction companies. Well,
Mhm.
a lot of people, men get breast cancer too, but also a lot of people's wives have been affected. And one of my biggest donations, their mother is a breast cancer survivor. And so it really resonates with a lot more people than you would think.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that. I decided that I can't just go to women, and
Yeah.
I probably get more donations from the men, the businessmen, but I haven't. Everybody that has donated has been impacted by cancer, not personally themselves, but a family member. It is a very aggressive disease that hits people on all walks of life. I mean, it's not it's not discretionary on who gets breast cancer,
Right.
So everybody is impacted by it. Well, so I guess there's a couple of things that I would hope for. I hope we get through this pandemic and we come out whole on the end, and that we can continue to grow our local chapter. I hope that we can do more for the metastatic community, that we can continue to grow and become more inclusive in all aspects of our community, whether it be based on gender or race or anything. I think we can continue to build that piece. But it's going to also take funding from our community. I also hope that Komen could do more in, blasting through the myths that are out there about Komen.
Yeah, I actually totally agree. The last thing, and I think this is important, and I know a lot of people talk about this, but there is this stigma that breast cancer is for women over a certain age. And one thing that has been so eye-opening to me since I was diagnosed in 2011 is the number of women who are in their 20s and 30s and early 40s, and we're not represented. I was under 40 years old when I was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, and if you look at the commercials
Yeah.
for the drugs that I'm currently on, I'm not represented in those commercials. Um and there's a lot of misconceptions about who is affected by this. And I think that it would be very important for us to highlight that, just the many ages, races, socioeconomic groups, and genders
Yeah.
this affects.
I think you're right on the money there. And when I think about there are some young survivor groups, women, it's primarily women that were diagnosed in their 20s and 30s. And when I look at our Dragon Boat team, I've been on the team 5 years. And the first year I joined, I was like, why are these women? Like, some of them were really young and they were in their 30s, early 30s. And I'm like, this is crazy. And every year we have new members and they're young. They're all young. And I'm like, this is like, it affects women of all ages. It's not, I used to think the same thing to some degree. I thought my sister was an anomaly. And when my mom got it in her 70s, I thought, well, that's normal. I literally thought that. And, and then you just keep seeing it. And yes, it does tend to show up in a lot of women in their 50s and 60s, but
Mhm.
there's a ton of women in their 20s, 30s, and 40s that are getting it.
Lisa, I'll let you do the honors.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to virtually participating with everybody out there. I want to thank everybody that's contributing and that has signed up to join the virtual walk. It's not too late. Keep doing it. I hope that we can continue to raise a lot of money, and may the best team win, lose, doesn't matter, because it's all for Komen. It's all for a good cause. And so I wish you many more sponsors. So go tap whoever. I'm going to try to do the same.
Thank you, everybody, for supporting Komen this year. If you haven't signed up for the walk yet, please go to komenoregon.org to sign up today, or you can donate to one of our teams. You can find us. I'm part of the Ambassador Breasties, and Lisa, you are the Pink Dragon Boat.
Pink Phoenix Dragon Boat team. Yep.
Pink Phoenix Dragon Boat team.